What's up, guys? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more of our videos. Also, make sure you follow us all over social media so you don't miss any of our content or show announcements. Once again, every time I watch these kind of like middle tier teams in the league, I've talked about this last night with Colin Cowherd, but like I kind of view the inner circle of the NBA as like 5 teams that I think have like a real chance to win the title. And in no particular order, because I'm going to end up doing some stuff involving ordering them over the course of the next month. Jackson and I were talking this morning about doing very, very in-depth breakdowns specifically on the inner circle contenders involving some film and stuff. So we're thinking about doing that over the course of the next month. But those 5 teams for me right now are in the Eastern Conference, Boston and Cleveland. And in the Western Conference, Oklahoma City, Denver, and the Los Angeles Lakers. If you look at those teams and you watch them play every single night, there's a level of seriousness on both ends of the floor in their execution and their attention to detail and just their overall pursuit of maximizing their talent and being the best basketball team that they can be. And literally, as soon as you go below that, it's a drop-off. Even with a team that has a pretty damn good record like the New York Knicks, they've been so inconsistent with their defensive execution this year. Teams like Milwaukee, teams like Minnesota, there's so many teams in that group that have been very, very inconsistent in their attention to detail. The one team that's kind of below there that I'm keeping my eye on because I don't really know where they're going to fit once we see a larger sample of them playing some tougher teams is the Golden State Warriors. I think they have a chance to enter into the inner circle. There are some teams in that group that I think I'm keeping my eye on over the course of the final month to see. But those are the 5 teams that I see. And when you go beyond that, there's a pretty substantial drop-off in terms of just the level of serious basketball that they play. I thought it was really interesting as I started to dig through the numbers. Like if you look at the margins, these are the areas where all of the good teams are always good. The margins are the little details that suck. They're hard to do, but they're such an important part of winning basketball games. For instance, taking care of the basketball and making sure you don't give up points off of turnovers. The Thunder, the Cavs, and the Celtics are all top 5 in opponent points off of turnovers, and the Lakers are top 10. Giving up points off of offensive rebounds. The Cavs and Celtics are both in the top 10. The Thunder have always been a bad defensive rebounding team. That's their Achilles heel, so they're out of that group. But the Cavs and Celtics, top 10. And the Lakers, since January 15th, when they kind of became a serious team, they're 7th in that department, giving up fast break points. The Cavs, the Celtics, and the Thunder are all in the top 11 in limiting opponents' fast break points. This is the Lakers' Achilles heel. That's where they always get beat. They're unathletic in transition at times. Cleaning the glass is overall transition defense stat. The Cavs, the Celtics, and the Thunder are all top 10. The Lakers are top 10 since January 15th. Makes in the restricted area allowed, so giving up easy baskets right underneath the rim. The Cavs, Celtics, and Thunder are all top 10. The Lakers are 7th since January 15th. Total number of contested shots this year. This is a hustle stat on NBA.com. The Cavs, the Thunder, and the Celtics are all in the top 4. These are non-negotiables if you want to be a serious basketball team. You have to be committed to running the floor in transition, making contact on box outs, competing for contested rebounds, making rotations, putting your body on the line, making extra efforts, contesting shots. These are non-negotiables. And they're hard. I get it. There's a reason why there's such a huge swath of the league that's bad at this stuff on a nightly basis. Because it's 82 games, and you're all a bunch of millionaires, and it's really, really hard to get yourself to compete at that level on a night in and a night out basis. That said, like I said, it's a non-negotiable if you want to get to the finish line, if you want to get the Larry O'Brien trophy. Every time I watch the Bucks, they seem to be heavily lacking in these areas. They are mediocre to bad in every single one of those statistical categories that I listed except for defensive rebounding. It was jarring again to watch as the Cavs just dominated this game by outrunning the Bucks all over the floor. 24 easy points in transition, countless possessions where they would defend well and get a stop and rebound and run out the other way and get an easy one against a Bucks team that wasn't willing to run. Even in the half court, it's the same sort of concept. Whether it was Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell or somebody else creating that initial advantage, the Cavs just sliced and diced the Bucks defense with these beautiful drive and kick sequences that often ended in wide open looks for very good shooters. You could literally see them repeatedly knifing through the lane, not just on that initial drive, but on closeouts. And as a result, they're able to grow that advantage. So that first closeout's only a little bit of a closeout. That second closeout's more of a closeout. The third one, no chance. The dude's wide open. The Cavs generated 22 unguarded catch-and-shoot jump shots in this game. The Milwaukee Bucks generated just 9. That's the difference. The Cavs have this beautiful ability to slice and dice defenses for these super high-quality catch-and-shoot looks, and at the same time, on the other end of the floor, keep their defense out of rotation against Milwaukee. And it's not just the commitment to running. It's the commitment off the ball on defense to tracking shooters, being sharp with your closeouts. Cleveland was so attentive and sharp. Every catch-and-shoot look for Milwaukee felt like it was smothered with a quick and reactive closeout. How many times did you see Taurean Prince in the game kind of lingering around 5-6 feet away from Max Strus and just a quick swing pass and Max Strus knocks down a shot? How many times did you see Brook Lopez and Giannis Antetokounmpo just drifting off of Evan Mobley and not in position to offer a closeout as Evan Mobley made them pay, knocking down that catch and shoot on the weak side? Prince in particular had a really rough night in this regard. But as a team, the Bucks were not attentive in their off-ball defense. That's how you end up with such a huge chasm in the overall number of wide-open catch-and-shoot shots that they generated. The Bucks have a lot of talent, but you can't even get to the point where you're able to weaponize that talent until you're willing to commit to the hard work that is consistent winning basketball that is required to get to that level. There are some realities with the Bucks regarding their age and overall foot speed. This is a size team, not a speed team. We're going to talk about the difference between the two here in a minute. But at the same time, every time I watch them, there's just so much fat that can be trimmed. Simple transition defense principles like stopping the ball, stopping the basket, and getting matched up. There's a big one late in the game where Taurean Prince left a wide open shooter right at the top of the key. The on defense in the half court, like simple ideas, like making sure that when you're in help side defense, positioning yourself in a way where you can see man and ball and make sure that if that pass goes, you're already in the closeout while the ball's in the air and you're there on the catch. These are details that don't necessarily depend on their overall team speed that can be cleaned up, that they just haven't made the requisite effort to do so. Now, getting to the game itself, I want to talk about how the combination of speed and jump shooting is what actually allows the Cleveland Cavaliers to generate so many quality shots. This has been the best offense in the NBA this year. They're actually almost 3 points per 100 possessions ahead of the second place Boston Celtics. They're the only team in the league getting over a 120 offensive rating. The Cavs offense is unbelievable. Now, like we talked about earlier, there's a difference between size and speed. There are two easy ways to get the defense into rotation: through overwhelming speed and overwhelming size. For overwhelming size, think like Jokic or guys like LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, some of these bigger, stronger players. They find a defender that's too small to guard them. Then they pressure the rim until they get easy twos or they draw in that second defender. Speed works the exact same way. When you have guards that through transition or through ball screens, against switches, whatever it is, when they can consistently get screaming downhill towards the rim, they either are going to get layups or they're going to draw in multiple defenders. This is the part of the Cavs roster construct that has really shown through this year. And for the record, I was originally, a couple of years ago, completely out on the Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell pairing as like a foundation for the Cavs. Why? Because it's two small guards. And when you're building around two small guards, it just presents so many issues for you on the defensive glass and just on the defensive end in general. And by the way, they still occasionally have rebounding issues and they still occasionally have defense issues. But as Darius Garland has gotten healthy this year, and as he's blossomed into this like super high level guard, we've gotten to see the other side of that dynamic, which is that they do have overwhelming speed. Garland this year, healthy with his legs underneath him, has been one of my favorite players to watch in the league this year, because of his combination of speed and handle and shot making and playmaking, which gives him the ability to get wherever he wants to get on the floor. His probing in transition off the dribble and in the half court is responsible for so much of Cleveland's offensive success. The Cavs offense all year has been about 2 points better per 100 possessions when Darius Garland is on the floor versus off. Donovan Mitchell brings the same thing. He's not at the same level of quickness that Darius Garland is at, but he's close. And he's bigger, and he's more vertically athletic, and he's a better shot maker. And he's got like a bunch of these really fancy gather moves. Like he's been putting on a clinic of that like windmill over the top gather that Dwayne Wade popularized. And then he's brought back the Sham God with a vengeance this year. He had another nasty one the other night. Donovan Mitchell's ball handling in the middle of the floor has been unbelievable this year, but he also has an amazing ability to get wherever he wants on the floor. That's the initial first step for any drive and kick sequence. You've got to generate that initial advantage that compromises the defense and generates those kick out opportunities for your spot up guys. From there, they just have a bunch of guys who are awesome at playing drive and kick basketball. Max Strus, lightning quick release, can do it on the move and is a really good drive and kick player, can make basic drive and kick reads. Dean Wade is good at it too. DeAndre Hunter has been brilliant so far as a Cav, as a spot up guy, as a guy who can do some advanced scoring in the mid-range, attacking closeouts. Ty Jerome is good at it. Sam Merrill's good at it. Mitchell and Garland can both do it when they're off the ball. Just to give you an idea, here are some spot-up efficiency numbers for Cavs players according to Synergy. DeAndre Hunter, 1.37 points per possession. That's outrageous. Ty Jerome, 1.36 points per possession. That's outrageous. Craig Porter, obviously in a smaller role, 1.28 points per possession. Max Strus, 1.24. Donovan Mitchell, 1.18. Sam Merrill, 1.15. They have 6 players logging over 1.15 points per possession in spot-up situations. As a team, they get 1.11 points for any spot-up possession. Only the Celtics in the NBA are better at converting spot-up possessions than the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they generate so many of them on the strength of their speed. It's that combination. Speed, which is necessary to consistently get the defense in rotation, and then having players that can extend advantages and pay them off. Even their bigs. Evan Mobley last night burned Giannis and Brook on skip passes by hitting weak side threes. He's shooting 37% from on catch and shoot threes this year. That is helping. Jared Allen provides his own kind of spacing as a short range shot maker. There's a play yesterday where Darius Garland was driving through the lane and Jared ended up like kind of right outside the right block. And Darius ran into a bunch of help and just kind of dumped it off to Jared Allen. And Jared Allen just stuck a little left-handed floater like 6 feet from the basket. And all year long, he's been deadly on hooks and floaters. He provides his own kind of spacing in that way. It's a principle that works for them in both the half court and in transition. It makes them nearly impossible to guard, and it's why they've been head and shoulders above the rest of the field on offense this year. The Cavs are in second place in offense. The Celtics are in second place, 3 points fewer per 100 possessions. That's how ahead of the field their offense has been. Now, again, as we've talked about, margins shrink when you get to the postseason. I saw a crazy stat this morning when I was digging through some old NBA data. 5 of the last 7 NBA teams to win at least 60 games or to win at a 60-win pace in the 2 shortened seasons in 2020 and 2021, 5 of the last 7 of the teams to accomplish those feats failed to win their conference in the playoffs. Only one of those 5 losers made it out of the second round. The reason is simple. By the way, the 2 exceptions there are the 2020 Lakers and last year's Boston Celtics. The reason why this happens is you're almost exclusively in the playoffs facing elite, locked-in defenses that have done extensive game planning. And as the officiating loosens up and the game becomes very physical, all of that easy dribble penetration becomes harder to come by. In the half court, it gets harder to get to your spots. And the catch and shoot threes get harder to knock down because everyone's more tired from being in that super physical environment. The game actually shifts in the playoffs heavily towards each individual matchup and how well each team can guard each other in the half court. Again, 5 out of the last 7 teams to do what Cleveland's doing, to do what Oklahoma City is doing, failed to make it out of their conference. 4 out of those 7 failed to make it out of the second round. That is a trend that Cleveland has to find a way to reverse. And it's going to come down to guys knocking down shots at the same rate they did in the regular season, and Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell continually being able to generate those advantages. And once again, finding ways to make sure that you can prevent specific matchups from causing you problems when you get into the in a playoff series. For instance, we talked about the Celtics-Cavs series, or Celtics-Cavs game the other night. The ability to attack Sam Hauser in the half court in crunch time, that won't be there. So it'll be about, can Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown do a better job of attacking Garland, and Tatum is comfortable against both Allen and Mobley as well? Are they going to be able to attack those guys better than Cleveland can attack Derek White, Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis in his drop coverages, whatever it may be? That is the battle. That's the chess match. That ultimately is going to determine who wins the title, not which team had the better offensive rating in the regular season, which team had the higher win percentage. That is what happens in NBA history, and that is why a lot of these teams that dominate the regular season end up losing in the postseason. It doesn't matter what you accomplish in the 82. It comes down to the matchups. Now, to be clear, the team that wins the title is almost always in the upper echelon of teams. Basically always. So there's a mandatory minimum of a commitment to excellence that you have to have. And all of those teams had that. But what ends up happening are there are these teams, usually in that second tier, usually that don't have quite the 60-win pace, but they're in the mid-50s or so, that were dead serious all year, but maybe they're a little older, maybe they're a little slower, and they get run off the floor a bunch of times in the regular season, but they get into the postseason, they get their shit together, the vets leverage their athleticism, and it gets tougher. And that's the challenge that Cleveland has to overcome. When the margins shrink, and it becomes about Garland and Mitchell matchup attacking versus a different team matchup attacking them, how can they hold up? I think they're going to hold up really well against everybody except for Boston out in the East. And ultimately, that's the challenge. And nothing else really matters until we get to that point. A couple of other shout-outs from the Bucks game. I thought Max Strus was just awesome, and I thought he kicked Taurean Prince's ass. And that was a significant swing factor in this game. I also thought the Cavs defended Damian Lillard extremely well. Isaac Okoro in particular did a really nice job. His shifts were excellent in this game. I also thought it was just a great example of how devastating Cleveland's driving kick attack can be, in the sense that no player on the team scored over 20 points. Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell were both broke on their pull-up threes, and it just didn't matter because they just picked Milwaukee apart for wide open catch and shoot threes for their role players.